live streaming this class as well today because this class is actually part of the Asana Kitchen subscription channel, and it is a fantastic resource for our Ashtangis. And yes, so you should check it out if you're interested. It's $11.99 a month. And then also Bali, you want to talk just briefly? No, because next week we're having that special Q&A.
So a couple of things. I will be teaching in Bali in December and January, and in January it's a kind of Mysore intensive, like I do annually. And then in December it's a special teacher's course. And next weekend I'll be giving a kind of informational live class on that. So if you want to find out more about that, you could tune into that or just email me or anything. And it's in a nice spot in Bali on the beach called Canggu. I was really excited about it for both things. The teacher thing, that's a rare thing. I don't do that often. And so it's a great opportunity. And then always excited about my annual kind of Mysore intensive. So, and then one last thing, as we're getting started, is that I'm putting out this question thing. If you've seen, I've sent it in an email, I've had it in my stories, and I'm asking you, my followers, to answer 2 questions. It's very simple. It'll only take 30 seconds, and you have a chance to win
Recording in progress.
You have a chance to win a private session with me if you fill that out. So please do that. I would really, really appreciate your feedback. And really, it's kind of information gathering so that I can better serve you and offer you the types of teaching that that you want and that you're looking for. Okay? So.
Just 1 minute. Let me just make sure that it doesn't. Okay, good. Okay. All right, you're good.
So here we go with our Marichyasana D tutorial. All right, and so as usual, I don't recommend just jumping in and trying your best to do a pose. There's a certain amount. A beginner can do that a little bit, but once you have some experience, you've got to size it up and think about what it is and what type of pose is it, and what are the parameters? What's the goal or goals, and the safety aspects to it. And so they all start from samastitihi, the poses, and then they are every different pose is some kind of excursion away from samastitihi. And so when you're analyzing it, you're kind of going on that basis. And so for me, Marichyasana D is, well, for one, you have to appreciate the difficulty. It's a seated posture, it's a hip opener, and it's a twist. Okay, so that's how I would categorize it. It's a seated hip opening twist, and a very tough pose to do. So we're going to break it down some, and starting with sitting on a chair. Okay, because this is how you can explore what I call. See, when you categorize a pose like that, like I just did, then you can kind of get at what I call the essence of the pose. Okay, and the essence of the pose, even a more complex pose like Marichyasana D, is generally available to everybody. Okay, and whereas if you only pursue the kind of the final end point that you see in the photographs or on Instagram, then that is not for everybody, and that's where you can get yourself into trouble. But if you identify the essence, then almost anyone can do some version of the pose and really benefit from it. Okay, and so with every seated posture, I tell you that you identify the side plane. All right, so that's if you had a pane of glass and you cut it through the body, it'll give you the front and back, right? So there's your side plane. And really in the seated postures, you don't want your body going behind the side plane. Okay, so you would never want to do like Marichyasana or something like that. So you always want to be at least on the side plane or even forward of it. All right, and so with Marichyasana, I'm starting sitting in a chair, and and there's this two aspects. There's the half lotus, the hip opening part, and the rotation part. Okay, and you can do both so nicely from the chair. So if you just sit on the chair and then get your feet underneath your knees and twist. So you can do it just by just rotating and feeling that nice rotation of the spine, or you can actually put your left hand on your outer right knee and your right hand on the chair back and kind of enhance the twist. Okay, and so that's a nice way to get the feeling of rotating your spine, which is so key in the Marichyasana. Okay, and when we get into it, there is a little bit of flexion when you do Marichyasana. It's not a fully upright pose, right? So I guess if you really wanted to make it a little more realistic, you could kind of come over, flex, and almost like a Pashasana type of movement and get the rotation. Okay, and then the hip opening part though, all right, so then let's just play with that for a minute so we're way up on the chair, all of this in a much easier set of circumstances, kind of exploring what is the essence of this pose. All right, so if you turn your feet out like a frog, and then kind of pull one leg up, and you're putting in Marichyasana, it's not the standard half lotus that you're looking for, right? So the standard half lotus would be to really bring that foot up, almost the heel to the navel. But what you're trying to do is put that foot in the inner groin crease, okay? And notice how at the moment the other leg is still turned out in its kind of frog-like action, and so you're working to to kind of lengthen the thigh and make it go down. Okay, and I have my heel of the other leg off the ground, so that you're kind of exploring that, and then try it with the other side. So you've got a real turnout happening, and then you bring that left foot up to the inner groin crease, and then kind of play around. So and if when you try to do that, your leg is up here and your pelvis goes into a backward tilt, that's kind of information for you, and that you're going to have to modify in order to do a version of Marichyasana D. Because so partly why you're even up on the chair is to get forward enough so that you can get your knee actually even lower than your thigh. All right, so you're kind of playing with that possibility. All right, and if you can't do that, well then this is an excellent place to just work on it. Just one sec here to let somebody in. Okay, and then so suppose now let's just go back to the first side, and then we have the ingredients now to get our essence. Okay, so if you take your left leg into that inner groin crease of the right leg, and then twist to the right. Okay, and you can do it clasping your fingers above your behind your head. You can clasp your elbows. You could catch the chair back, put your hand on the outer leg, and lean forward a little bit and twist. And as you're doing it, you're kind of bracing your right leg and lengthening your left thigh and bringing the knee down a little bit. Okay, and then you could even lean forward and kind of round your spine a little bit and work your twist. Okay, and so there, let's go for the second side. But there you have it, a very, very nice, accessible version of Marichyasana D. And remember, when you succeed in getting these three ingredients, all right, so one is some kind of hip opening, okay? Two is a grounded foundation, or we'll say first, a grounded foundation, like a nice solid weight in your legs, and then some reasonable hip opening, and then an even kind of satisfying spinal rotation. You've got it. You've done now a version of Marichyasana D, right? It doesn't involve, you don't need to bind and all of these things in order to get the benefit. All right, so here we are on the second side. And let's just, so you clasp your fingers, work your spinal rotation. Or clasp your elbows, or use a little bit of leverage. Okay, so if you look at me, I've got my right hand on my outer knee, and then my back hand, my left hand on the chair, and that gives me this leverage, right? So as I push my foot into that leg, I resist with the leg, that can help me twist. All right, so you're using your limbs very consciously as a pair of opposites to enhance your twist. And understand when you do that, just a second, just letting people into the meeting. So you understand that when you do that, let's go back to the first side for a bit. So let's put it this way. When you do it free form, just without that leverage, in a certain way, that's kind of, you could say safer, potentially but it's less of a mudra or less intense, the twist. So the moment you add your limbs, all of a sudden now you've got this power to twist, okay? And you just want to use that power with kind of gentleness and discrimination. Okay, so anyway, that's it for the chair. Just wanted to show you that nice stuff. And so when you get the essence of a pose, then, see, I like that. I call them stations. So, and I think of having a high station, a medium station, and a low station. And the chair represents the high station where it's easiest to get the essence of the pose. Okay, and I recommend all students use all the stations. It's not just like that the high station is only for the beginning student or the student with like limitations. right? Because even a flexible or student that can do the whole pose without any props, you can really explore the essence nicely from the higher station, okay? And get all kinds of benefit. But so the next thing to do is just now sit on a block, which is lower than the chair, but not on the ground. Okay, and you can customize it. Okay, so I've got this high block, there's a little bit lower block, and there's even then like a little Mysore rug. Okay, but when you're selecting your height, here's what I want to show you. Okay, so you want this side plane thing is really operable, like in Marichyasana. So let's go ahead and do the first side, the same thing that you, first of all, look at how I'm set up here. I've got, from Dandasana, I just go like that with both legs. Okay, so I don't do this. I don't go just taking the half lotus, keeping this leg in Dandasana. No, I kind of open out both of them because I'm trying to get my foot here, not up here. All right? So go under there, and then as I...
Can you show that again? Trying to get your foot where and not...
Yeah, so you don't... The typical thing is just to go like that, right? But what you're trying to do is put it in there. Okay, so it's not up there. It's kind of a low, like if you were doing lotus posture, it's not the same. Because lotus posture, you want the way up there, but this is different. It's lower, it's in the crease there. Okay, and then, so from there, you bring this foot back.
Sorry, I'm having a green.
We're having a little technical difficulty. Yeah.
Ah, there you go. Okay. All right.
All right. So it's quite a, yeah, you got to appreciate the difficulty of the pose, right? So from here, you are bringing that foot back and then getting forward. Okay, so notice, I'm not back here like this doing that. I'm forward. And people do this. They lean back and twist. I don't recommend that. I recommend you stay forward and twist. Okay, and the same things apply. You could just do this action or this action without catching, without using that leverage yet. Okay, let's take the second side. So here I am, right? I presented a sort of, from Dandasana, a kind of frog-like action, and then put that in the inner groin crease, bring the foot back to a squat, and get forward. Okay, so, and this sitting bone, the squatting leg sitting bone lifts off. Okay, it's not on the ground. There's like 1% of people that can do the Marichyasana with both sitting bones on the ground, but for most people it's not even an objective. Okay, and then you work your twist without the leverage first. Just see what you can do. Try to, and it's a good manual exercise. So I see people doing things like this, going like this, and I'm not a big fan of that simply because of the positioning, right? It's not a bad thing in itself, but you always want to be considering your positioning. So when you have a complex pose like Marichyasana D, you might have to really improvise to get the essence. Like, for instance, if you have really tight hips, you could do something like this, where you're in a Dandasana, or even like sitting on a little something plus Dandasana, and then not bringing that all the way back, and then twisting. Right? So that would be a version of that, that pose that you could do. So you can do the, the old, this one here, and work your position. And this, if you do this, it doesn't work your hip as nicely, right? It doesn't, but you can then focus on your spinal twist aspect, okay? And so that's your kind of variables. You're working with this sort of hip opening aspect, and then also your twist aspect. All right. So anyway, if you are got your half lotus, and you got your nice foundation, and you're forward, and then you start applying your leverage. So you could kind of wrap and hug and twist. So there's a very nice version that you can do, right? You see people leaning back and doing this kind of thing, which I don't really recommend, because the pose itself is forward and this way, right? So you're trying to kind of simulate what's actually going on there in the pose. We'll go to the other side, and give that turn and hug. And so when you're hugging, you're kind of squeezing down on your leg, and so that leg is kind of coming across and then bracing. And use the arms, the squatting leg and the arms as leverage to enhance your twist. Okay, and then lastly, Joy, can you come in now?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have Joy come in to go farther in it. So sit on this. So for almost every student, most, I recommend using at least this much support, because you want, for every seated posture, I have this kind of little guideline or rule, which is 50% of your weight or more in your legs versus your pelvis. Okay, so that means anytime you're in Marichyasana, any one of those, and this foot is light and the pelvis is heavy, this is wrong. Okay, so when you put the little bit of height, it gives you that advantage to get at least 50% of your weight in your legs. And this is very important in Marichyasana D, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. But can you take the...
Do you think I should be this way or profile?
Just start this way, and
okay.
Let's just see. Okay, so she will do the frog. Yeah, about, there you go. And then take the half lotus, the low half lotus, then to come up. And then, so an obvious thing is if you can actually, you internally rotate both arms for Marichyasana D, right? And, yeah, that's B.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so it's, to start off with, you don't try to go too low down your leg, okay? And then so that's an internal rotation, and the back arm also internally rotates, so both palms face out. And then if you can't catch, you'll put a tie with that front hand and then swing it to get it to attach to the back. All right, so there you go. And then as you are going deeper into the pose, you want to go lower down your leg, right? Really snug and low, and then you catch, and both palms are going to face out, and you're going to catch the wrist of the other hand. So you're catching your wrist and reaching for your shin, of the half lotus leg. So it's an extra mudra, extra leverage to catch. And remember, your weight is forward, so you're grounding that half lotus thigh, grounding your squatting foot, and bracing your arms and legs as the way to get the leverage for twisting. And that's all happening judiciously and spaciously. And your gaze is going around and to the side in a great circle. Okay, so last point I want to make about both Marichyasana C and D and that height under your pelvis. See, if you look at me, in every twist, see, this is very important. It's that when I told you that at least 50% of your weight is in your legs versus your pelvis, it's very important to think of your legs as the foundation of every twist, even a standing twist, a seated twist. And the reason for that is because your sacrum, so your pelvis is an intermediary between your legs and your spine. Okay, and so your sacrum is part of your spine, but then your pelvis is its own thing. So it's a little bit of tricky. Like what does the pelvis do in a twist? And what I'm telling you is that you don't want to keep your hips militantly square when you make a twist, okay? Because then, to me, you're putting your sacrum at odds with the rest of your spine, and your sacrum's part of your spine. Okay, so basically, when you get your weight in your legs, you resolve the problem almost automatically. Okay, and so with the weight in your legs, you will slightly offset your hips when you twist. Okay, so
like just naturally it will happen.
No, you want to let that happen. Okay, so and people will teach you to keep your hips rigidly square, and I'm telling you no. That when you're like, this is the first side of Marichyasana D, and so what you want to do is you let the left hip come forward slightly in relation to the right. Okay, you don't freeze your hips or keep all your weight in your hips so they can't move. Okay, you stay forward, and then your pelvis goes with the twist to a certain degree, because that your pelvis is part of your pelvis is your spine. All right, and so there's a little bit of offset. And when you sit on something, even a little something when you're flexible, it allows you to get forward, get your weight in your legs, and then that frees up your pelvis a little bit to play its intermediate role. So it's in the middle. It goes with the twist to a certain degree, and it stabilizes to a certain degree. Okay, and that's just the body being smart about how the body functions. All right, so there you have it. There's some ideas for you in working on Marichyasana D. Please appreciate the difficulty, work in steps, find the essence, which is a grounded stance, a bit of hip opening, and a nice spinal rotation in a seated posture. And that's all. Okay? So remember all the things I introduced at the beginning, my Asana Kitchen subscription channel. You check that out. It's a very good, amazing resource for Ashtangis. The Bali, my winter activities in Bali that I'd love to have you join. And then also my 2 questions that I've got this kind of survey going out. You can find it on Instagram, on my stories, or email me and ask me for it. And I will tell you one more thing about that. Please, I ask you. See, part of that, it's a little bit deceptive, okay? It asks you for 2 questions, but then it goes further and asks you to make a testimonial about me and my teaching and your experience. And I really would appreciate it if you could do that testimonial. Yeah. So, and you will get a chance to win a free private with me. So there's a bit of incentive to do it. And love to come to Valencia, Spain. Maybe that can happen. Okay, guys.
Yeah, if you have questions about Bali, next weekend there's a Q&A.
Yep.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.